Today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners, who for more than 25 years have successfully delivered interim and permanent leadership talent to transform businesses. To hire the talent you need to enable your business to thrive, visit www.progressotalent.com today. Hey listeners, welcome back to Extrology, a life of purpose and inspiration. Today we're exploring the powerful themes of impact and contribution, focusing on the stories of extraordinary guests who have each in their own way committed to creating positive change. In the conversations that follow, you'll hear how these individuals transformed personal challenges, passions and ambitions into purposeful actions that reach far beyond themselves. So let's dive in and explore these stories of resilience, dedication, and the endless possibilities of making a difference. First up, we have Paula Reed, a remarkable adventurer and advocate who embodies the philosophy of stepping outside the comfort zone to drive change. Paula's journey is defined by her willingness to take on bold challenges, from cycling across Ukraine to help raise awareness of the crisis there, to exploring resilience in some of the world's harshest environments. Her story reminds us that the willingness to go beyond the familiar can lead to profound, purposeful contributions to society. Paula encourages us to look at the world with a sense of curiosity and empathy, asking ourselves, what small yet significant act of courage can I take today to make a difference?
So we start in Odessa, which is being bombarded quite a lot. You know, currently we've got the grain situation where the ships in the Black Sea are being targeted, and there's a lot of bombing of the port, and there was a queue of about 3 miles of grain lorries all waiting to go in and collect the grain and all that. So Odessa itself is quite a hot spot when it currently, strategically as well. So it was an interesting place to start. We camped the night before outside of town and tried to keep, low profile. I remember looking at the stars the night before and working out which ones might be drones or missiles, which ones were moving. And I gave myself the fear and got back in the van and shut the door. So there's things like that going on. And in the morning, we met a local cyclist. So there's a lovely guy called Igor, who's a local photojournalist. He wanted to capture the star, but he's also a cyclist. And so we met him in Odessa. And that was wonderful because I'd arranged all that.
You'd arranged all that, right.
Yeah, so this is the network, right? This is the plug into the locals. They know best. They know who's who and, rely on that. So we cycled all around Odessa harbour. A lot of that was blocked off to public. Weirdly, there's a sandy beach. So, you've got that juxtaposition between war zone, grain lorries, and a few people sunbathing and swimming in the sea. So there's normal... there's normal life going on out there. And then Igor cycle toured us around Odessa a bit. Now, what I hadn't said was Neil, who accompanied me, he didn't cycle the whole route, but he did cycle a bit, including in Odessa, on a penny farthing.
Fantastic. So you look quite a sight as it is.
He did.
Certainly to the locals. You're drawing up.
Little smiles, toots and smiles.
I was going to say, what kind of reaction did typically you enjoy from Ukrainians?
He got all the attention anytime the penny farthing came out. But the non-reaction is the funniest because it's big, a penny farthing.
Yeah.
I was like that in comparison. I was tiny, and it's quite huge. And he's got a top hat on because that's how he does it, right? So you've got this tall gentleman on an extremely tall bike. I think he's probably 3 times taller than I am, and a top hat on. And the people that don't react are the ones that I worry about. But then again, they're suffering from a war zone and they might have PTSD or something. So fine. But the double take, I love the double take. You get some kids or, an old lady and she does that double take and then shock. And I love that. I just cycle behind Neil and just watch all the reactions. Lots of tooting on the roads, of course, as well.
How has the experience impacted your perspective on life, do you think?
That particular experience, the cycling across Ukraine?
Yeah.
I think I feel even more committed to them, more connected, like my heartstrings, if you like, are more connected to them and the country. And it's not anti-Russians, because I know they're going through very difficult times too. I just haven't been there or witnessed that. It's Ukraine has got my heart now. But also I came back feeling so good, selfishly, about doing the right thing and meaningful work. And I've realised that putting yourself out there means more than writing an essay about it. So I've been reflecting on it a bit. I haven't fully processed it all because I only got back last week. But you do process and you get layers and layers of meaning out of these things. But I think I was reflecting even just today that kind of physically doing stuff, committing, acting on your beliefs means quite a lot too, and not just sitting or thinking or writing or donating. I doff my cap to all the Ukrainians, the kids that are adapting and being so versatile and agile and resilient and still going to church or doing ballet, the mothers who are holding families together and holding each other together when they get together and celebrate a birthday, the babushkas who are as tough as tanks and are strong and tough and, market gardening and growing local produce in their gardens just to support the community. The older generation generally who are having to survive in tough conditions. And of course, all the military, male and female, but, Slava, the heroes. So, Heroem Slava. So I doff my cap to all the Ukrainians and everyone who's going through all sorts.
In conclusion, if you could leave listeners with one key takeaway from your experience, what would it be?
The kind of concept that people are amazing. So if I was to brag, which I don't normally do, what I did was cool, right? It was against all the odds.
Absolutely it was. It's why we're here. I mean, it's fascinating.
Extralogy, right? Honestly, I'm not saying this to get praise or anything, but I am just Paula. I'm just Paula. I live in Hampshire. It was against the flow to do this, but I did it. And again, I believe that playing small does not serve the world. And it was against what a lot of people thought was safe or the right, not the right thing to do. But anyway, it was against the flow. And yet I did it, and to great effect. And I'm pleased and proud about that. But also the people I met are amazing. The charity is amazing. Courage and resilience and magic is happening all over. So my last concept is that we human beings are amazing and we're way more capable than we allow ourselves to be. So get out the comfort, put aside the fear, and get out there and do something that's positively impactful.
Paula's story isn't just one of athletic achievement. It's about using achievement as a platform for advocacy. The decision to cycle across Ukraine goes beyond adventure. It reflects a deep-seated commitment to leverage her capabilities for a greater cause. Paula teaches us that contribution often requires courage. Courage to enter situations that feel uncomfortable and to remain steadfast, even when it's tough. By showing resilience in the face of physical challenges, she reminds us that personal endurance can fuel a far more significant purpose. For anyone listening, Paula's story is a prompt. How can you leverage your strengths to address issues that matter to you? Next, we meet Kate Strong, a world champion triathlete and record-setting cyclist who has redefined what it means to pursue personal achievement with a higher purpose. Kate's journey is about using her platform to encourage sustainable practices and inspire others to think beyond self-imposed limits. Kate didn't just chase records. She chased a vision of collective growth, sustainability, and resilience. Through her story, Kate invites us to reflect on our goals and consider how we might use our personal successes as catalysts for greater change. Kate's example underscores the idea that each step we take with intention can ripple outward, inspiring others to take action. Tell us about those world cycling records and what was the thought, the inspiration behind them?
Yeah, so as you know, I accomplished them 3 years and 1 year ago, so 3 world records. And it started off in 2016. It was when I couldn't compete against others anymore in triathlon because of an injury in my hip that I wanted to still push myself. And I noticed that there was a male world record for the furthest distance on a static bike in 24 hours. So that's a bicycle that doesn't move, like what you see in the gym and spin bikes classes, but no female equivalent. And I call myself a positive activist, which means when I see a gap in a cause that is close to my heart, I'll find a way to right it rather than highlight the wrong. And so I thought, why don't I just set a female 24-hour world record? And naively or ignorantly, depending how complimentary you want to be, I just thought it meant I had to cycle for 24 hours or sit on a bike and I'd get a record. So that's what I did in 2016. But Guinness politely informed me that they do set a minimum quota to stop people like me getting records. So I was unsuccessful in my first attempt. But that dream always sort of sat with me because even since 2016, no one attempted it. So it should have been in 2020. So at the beginning of 2020, I set the goal of re-attempting it. So it took me 4 years to mentally unpick a perceived failure and regroup. And lockdown pushed the deadline 3 times. So eventually I attempted 24 hours on May the 26th, 2021. And I thought, just for fun, why not try and break the 1 hour and the 12 hour in the first half of the world record and then go on to set a new 24-hour world record? And that's, with a lot of pain, that's what I did.
Goodness. And were you raising money as well as a consequence of that? Were you involved in different causes?
I was highlighting good causes, but I wasn't actually raising money for that. So I'd partnered with Horea, which was an anti-racism charity and CIC based in Bristol, Plant-Based Health Professionals, which is a group of doctors that endorse looking at our nutrition to be able to help us heal from certain diseases and deal with what we've got health-wise. But I didn't raise money. My next ventures will be about raising money. But again, that's my evolution as well. So I've gone from competition with others, competition with self, and now we're into that sort of give back, hopefully, towards my communities that I care about. The path I've chosen to cycle, I've called as the red zone, because if the global temperatures increase by 1.5 degrees, which is set to happen within 7 years, these areas will be underwater or heavily under risk of being flooded regularly. So these people are in our climate war zones, if you want, and will be the ones the most impacted. So I really want to connect with them as soon as possible to support, to share knowledge, to hear what they're really struggling with, and to hopefully us community solutionize. We are amazingly resilient and have great ideas, that now is the time to make it happen. And these areas I want to fight to protect with me and my bamboo bike. This point in time will be a tipping point for humanity to step up.
Yeah, I agree.
We have to step up. We have to think above ourselves. We have to start working as a community, not as eyes working in a group. So what excites me is to really watch how people tackle this problem, how we actually support each other through this crisis. I was talking to an Australian girl last night, and they have climate refugees in their town, over 3,000, because of flooding that took place because of a huge flood that's directly influenced by climate change, and they lost their houses. So even in a economically developed country like Australia, they have refugees already. We are going to see more and more of this happening, and now is the time we're going to see the true spirit of humanity stepping up, supporting our neighbours. We've seen it with Ukraine. I know people in Britain who've gone over to help support those refugees in whichever capacity they need. And it heartens me in those moments of deep sadness that it's actually still happening, because this is what being human's about. It's about holding hands, hugging and supporting, not amassing a fast car and a big house and keeping ourselves very isolated.
Kate Strong's mission amplifies the idea that personal achievements are not isolated accomplishments. They're building blocks for collective good. Setting a world record is impressive, but Kate's purpose-driven approach is what gives it weight. She shows us that our actions, however personal or small, can contribute to a broader impact when done with intention. If we look at her commitment to promoting sustainable practices, we see that she's not just pushing her limits for recognition, she's setting an example. Imagine if each of us committed to one small sustainable change. Together, the ripple effect would be profound. Holly Budge brings us into the world of adventure-driven conservation. Known as the first woman to skydive over Everest and a passionate anti-poaching advocate, Holly exemplifies how embracing discomfort can lead to meaningful action. She has transformed her adventurous spirit into a relentless drive to protect wildlife, founding How Many Elephants to bring attention to the devastating effects of ivory poaching. Holly's work shows that contribution often requires courage, the courage to face difficult realities and step up to address them. She challenges us to think about our own lives and ask, what purpose would I be willing to pursue if I could face my fears?
I just was so inspired by these women that I set up World Female Ranger Week, which is now in its 4th year. And it's a platform to amplify their voices in the global media. When I skydived Everest, it got massive media attention. I wasn't prepared for that. And I did all these interviews to America, in London. Pretty scary, actually. Got thrown right in the deep end. But it made me think, how can I harness the power of the global media for a greater good than me jumping out of an aeroplane or me climbing a mountain? So fast forward 15 years. Last year, we got 500 million views around World Female Ranger Week. We were on, BBC Woman's Hour, Sky News, Times Radio gave us half-hour slot, Wanderlust, all these massive media platforms were picking up these stories. News Central in Nigeria ran a half-hour section on it I had Nigerian rangers join me. So yeah, I'm now working with about 5,500 female wildlife rangers around the world. It's gone global. So it's fascinating, but it's taken my adventure to a whole new level. Another real game-changing moment came when I was reading an article about this band of women in South Africa, the Black Mambas, Africa, possibly the world's first all-female anti-poaching team. And I thought, I need to go and see these women. So I emailed them and they were like, oh, we've been following How Many Elephants. We've heard about your work. When are you coming out? It's like, wow, that was easy. And that's something I'll say to people as well. Doing my master's, I was reaching out to all sorts of people and so many doors opened, more doors than I'd have ever thought. But I had nothing. I was so in that zone. I just, all kind of the stars just were aligning. When I went out to see the Black Mambas and was patrolling with them on the front line, and I spent, several weeks fully immersed with these women. And that was the adventure. I mean, for me, in my 20s, it was world records, world first. That couldn't be further from where I'm at now. It's patrolling over the last 10 years with all these rangers. It's adventure with purpose. It's just, like I said at the beginning, it's pretty scary stuff. Life on the front line is very volatile, very changeable place. But it made me have so much respect for the work that these ladies are doing.
Holly's journey from Everest to anti-poaching reveals the transformative power of embracing discomfort. Through her work, she encourages us to seek purpose and contribution beyond our everyday routines. For those listening, Holly's story asks us an important question. What discomfort are you willing to embrace to create change? True impact requires that willingness to step out of the familiar and tackle issues that are urgent and meaningful, even if they're difficult. Then there's Tom Peacock-Nazil, the founder of 7 Clean Seas, who has taken on the enormous challenge of tackling plastic pollution in our oceans. Tom's mission is a powerful reminder that impact often begins with witnessing a problem and deciding to act. He's built a successful environmental organisation focused on intercepting ocean plastic, showing that business can be both profitable and purpose-driven. Tom's story is not just about passion, it's about stupid ambition, as he calls it, the belief that we need big, bold ideas to tackle big, bold problems. Through his work, Tom demonstrates that impact isn't about perfection. It's about committing to solutions that are meaningful and scalable.
When I got to Asia, it was really the first time I've seen just absolutely stunning marine ecosystems. But with that, you get the flip side. You get to see the side of the the marine ecosystems, of them struggling, of them, whether that's coral bleaching and kind of water temperature, or whether it's plastic pollution. And everywhere we went, you know, I was very lucky being able to travel to Vietnam and Philippines and Malaysia and Thailand. You know, everywhere we went, there was just plastic pollution. And it was one kind of fateful trip that I was on with my wife, who helped me kind of start 7 Clean Seas back in 2018, where we just saw this most pristine, beautiful beach get transformed into somewhat of a plastic horror show overnight. You know, we spent an entire day on this white sand, turquoise water beach called Sunrise Beach in Koh Lipe in the South Andaman Sea of Thailand. And when we went back the next day, it was just completely covered. Like, you couldn't walk on the beach, and there was still so much of it just floating in the water. And we had a chat to a few of the people that work in the restaurants there and some of the resorts. And I think it was kind of the combination of a high tide, an onshore wind, a storm. It was kind of like the perfect culmination of all of these things. And it was one of those kind of penny drop moments where, of course, I've always seen plastic pollution. Yes, I know plastic's a problem. And I would consider myself environmentally conscious, maybe not an environmentalist at that time, actually, but we kind of just sat down and contemplated life. And, you know, humans have really messed this up. How can it be this bad? And we don't know how to fix it. We don't know what to do. But let's go back to Singapore, where we work, and let's try and bring people to see this issue themselves. You know, how do we connect people in, you know, one of the world's most advanced economies ever to the issue of marine plastic pollution? And actually, when you start looking, you realize that Singapore is really badly affected because of its geographical position in the environment. And that was really the genesis. You know, we just decided to build a community. That was it. We got people down to the beach. We had a good time. We cleaned up the marine ecosystem. We learned about, you know, some of the basic pillars of environmentalism. And it was that initial kind of activity and those people who were super loyal and part of 7 Clean Seas' origin story that really teed us up for what came next. No one figured out the most important question. You know, we've got plastic in the ocean. We've got a solution, waste management. Nobody knows how to build it or pay for it. And that was like the light bulb moment. It's like, okay, well, we fixed this problem. We fixed that problem. So actually, let's take a few steps back and let's look at this as a financial challenge. You know, how do we build sustainable financing in the waste management sector in coastal regions where high plastic leakage into the ocean is happening in its greatest amounts? And that kind of underscored the whole methodology on which we actually ended up building 7 Clean Seas. We started as a community. We're still a community. We're about raising awareness and making people passionate about marine ecosystem and ocean plastic pollution. So that is a big part of our identity. You know, that's not what we're doing to, you know, generate funding and build these projects, but it's really important to who we are and our identity.
Tom's commitment to tackling plastic pollution shows how individual passion can spark collective change. His work underscores that addressing big challenges begins with bold ambitions and a relentless commitment to making a difference. David Haze brings us a story of profound personal transformation, which he has channeled into helping others. From overcoming addiction and incarceration to setting paddleboarding world records, Davey uses his journey as a tool for community contribution. Now working with penal reform solutions, Davey advocates for a prison system that encourages personal growth and rehabilitation. His story highlights the concept of resilience as a means to contribute to others, turning his personal challenges into a beacon for those in similar struggles. Davey reminds us that our hardships can be repurposed into a legacy of impact and healing, helping others find their way.
So I basically decided to go on this journey of self-discovery. So I started reading all these self-help books and all of this, started reading all these things. And I was thinking, one of the main things that was missing from my life was adventure. So growing up, I used to play county rugby. I was a tri-county athlete. So I used to be a national champion sailor, surf my university. You know, sports was a huge part of my life. And going to London, I let go of that person that I was. I let go of all of that. And I was thinking, like, that was something that's who I was. So I got back into all this fitness. You know, I then met Sarah. I kept reading all these self-help books. I then qualified as a life coach inside as well. I came out of a mindfulness-based practice. And one thing that I always used to love before going into prison was paddleboarding. And my mum used to send me paddleboarding books. She used to send me surfing books, magazines, sorry. I used to put them on my wall. So all the lads around me would have pictures of half-naked women on their walls. There'd be me with pictures of paddleboarders and surfers all around these locations in the world. And I remember just thinking, like, when I come out, I'm going to paddleboard the 4 longest lakes in the UK in 4 consecutive days. Like, that's my goal. So I'm starting to come out of this hole now. I've now got a purpose. I've got a vision. I've got something to look forward to when I come out. I still had a year and a half to go. So I met a PT inside. He then put a program to me to train to. So I started training. I was in the gym 10 times a week. And I was like, got this goal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to come out and I'm going to paddleboard these 4 longest lakes. And I remember telling the lads around me, when I'm out, I'm going to paddleboard the 4 longest lakes in the UK. I'm going to set 4 world records. And they used to say to me, no, you're not. Like, you're a prison number. You're always a prison number, and you're always going to be a prison number. And in that moment, I realized that prison isn't going to define me. Like, I'm not going to be defined by my mistakes. Like, nobody should ever be defined by your mistakes. And the only one that's in control of our destiny is us. I'm the only one that can control my destiny. If I want to come to prison again, I can do it. If I don't want to come to prison again, I don't have to come to prison again. So that moment they said that to me is that I knew that I'm going to get out into that world and I'm going to just change everything about myself. That I'm really going to push myself. And I'm also going to try and highlight the purpose of reform and rehabilitation. I want to show more people that our mistakes don't define who we are. More than that, I just want to try and change perspectives on people like myself that have been to prison. I've always liked being outdoors. I've always loved the great outdoors. But going from that prison cell to now being outdoors is just like, I just constantly crave to be in big open spaces. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's some sort of condition where I'm not like claustrophobic. I mean, this is a small room, but I just love being outdoors and having this all massive space around me. I don't know what it is. It just, that's when I feel most alive. And that's when I know who I truly am, like when I'm out in these spaces. But also with these endurance events, when I really push myself, like, that's when I know what my body and my mind is truly capable of. And I learn so much about me, and it gives me so many tools to deal with modern day life that I know if I'm going to come into any trouble again off the water, like I got into trouble before, I know I've now got the tools to take control of that and change my life to live a much more meaningful life. But with the children, the young people, like, I can see that they're asking for help. They're not directly asking for it, but I can see it. So when you do offer the help or support or anything, you know, they don't see it as them as asked you. You just spotted it. But I think it just takes a lot for somebody to realize that, you know, you need to ask for help. So when I read all these self-help books or, you know, all these self-made people, like, there's a point in their life they've always had to ask for the help to then become who they are. And like, I think it just takes a lot for someone to realize that, yeah, you know, you do need help, you should ask for it. But, you know, you need to listen to these podcasts and read these books to realize that, yeah, asking for help is such a simple act and it can change your life.
Davy's story is a powerful reminder that our struggles can be repurposed into a means to support others. His journey highlights that contribution often starts with empathy, understanding others' pain through the lens of our own experiences. In Davy's case, his past struggles become the bedrock of his work. Finally, we have Darren Hardy, a former soldier turned extreme endurance athlete who has dedicated his life to pushing human limits for charitable causes. Darren's journey is defined by resilience, using his physical challenges as a means to raise funds and awareness for others. Darren's story reminds us that the pursuit of contribution often means stretching beyond our own comfort, testing our limits in ways that we may not have imagined.
My purpose, I think now, is to inspire and change through inspiring people, whether that's getting them up. And I do have quite a few messages now, so I don't drink alcohol at all anymore. It's amazing the amount of mates who I served with who all drank together who actually saying you're an inspiration, you know, and those really get me ticking, you know, and even right down to the school level. So I would do some talks in schools and stuff and actually going through the process now of launching a business and doing that and bringing a tribe of really high performing people together to inspire other people to do more. You know, there's the way the world has been changing. I wouldn't always necessarily say it's been for the better. Yes, in some areas with the way it is, but you know, we're seeing more stress on the NHS through obesity and mental health problems, whereas actually a lot of that keys to unlocking the way we can actually deal with that is a bit of self-care, right? We spoke about it before this, about self-care with like your fasting, your greens, dedicating some time to yourself. And it's taken me a long time to realize what self-care is. But for me, even that's just getting up in the morning, go for a walk, whilst everyone else is asleep, love it, or a run, or going to the gym. So my purpose is to inspire as many people as possible and, create that sort of legacy of how I do that. And by a lot of that is just by doing the basics well, even if it is running 100 kilometers, pulling a car or whatever next, or my next one, I'm going to pull an airplane for a marathon, whatever that it may be. It's just doing the basics of that well. So the basics for me, when I pull the car or going to pull this airplane or running a marathon or whatever, is putting one foot in front of the other. And that I'm inspired with Aggie when I've been doing these events and I've been like, how am I going to go on? I would always FaceTime Aggie and she's only in the videos and that. And that's all I need is a click or a phone call to my girls. And that's all I need is because I'm like, well, Aggie can't walk, so I'll do it for her, Oh, it's only a stress fracture, it'll heal. My toenails have fallen off, okay, they'll heal. Actually, they're not healing. They're in bits still. But, they still, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm going to keep going until I make a bigger dent in the market in it, I just want to keep going. A personal experiment. I just want, what can the body do? I've set a target of being the world's, to do an Ironman in the world's most northerly, it's called the world's most northerly Ironman, which is in a place called Pyramid in Svalbard. It's got a population of 6 people. There's severe chance that I'm going to, I am bricking it about the orcas, the polar bears, the leopard seals. Myself and Tommy from Through Dark mentioned, I had a chat about these leopard seals this morning. All these things that could possibly go wrong, swimming in minus 1.8 in the Arctic. The vision to that is getting there. The struggle for me doing that now is raising funds to get there. But I know that could then make a massive difference in the charitable world if I get to do it, because no one's ever done it. And yeah, once I do that, because I will do it, it's what's next.
Darren's story is a testament to how personal resilience can translate into profound contribution. His endurance challenges aren't just physical feats, they're expressions of purpose, serving a larger mission to support others. The common thread across all these stories is that contribution isn't reserved for those with all the answers. It's about finding your strengths, embracing discomfort, and committing to incremental change. Each guest reminds us that the true measure of impact is in how we use our lives to create positive ripples around us. So as we reflect on these stories, let's ask ourselves, what legacy of impact and contribution do we want to leave behind? If today's episode has sparked something in you, take a moment to consider one small action you can take toward creating positive change, whether it's in your community, your work, or your personal life. And remember, each of us has the potential to make a difference no matter where we start. If you'd like to hear more from today's guests, you can listen to each of their full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Extrology or head over to extrology.com for all past episodes. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with anyone you think might benefit from these powerful stories. Thank you for joining me on this journey of purpose and inspiration. I'll see you in the next episode. Just a reminder, today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners. Visit www.progressotalent.com today for more information.